Ladies, we're here. We're going to do our October calendar club today. And I've got some of the supplies that I need out. I've got my template, which this is the original template. I finally found mine and I'm using one of the last ones that we haven't used yet. So this is going to be set 34. I've got the white paint out. I've got my chocolate bronze gilding polish and then my splatter brush. So grab those, get ready, and let's work on our October calendar club. So I've got the first layout here ready. I've got all my pictures on it, all of the pattern papers. I'm going to cover up my photo mats so that I don't get anything on them. And then for this one, I'm going to do pretty light gilding polish. I'm going to do a little bit in this corner section and then a little bit up top. I'm going to pull it down first and do my top one. So let's get out our gilding polish. Make sure you prime your sponge. It's super important. I actually did a little bit. I've got it all covered with the gilding polish. So priming your sponge is making sure that you have a nice layer of the gilding polish. It doesn't mean like a glob or anything like that, just a nice layer pushed into that sponge. Just like that. That looks perfect. Once you've got that, you can place your template. Now, this template, since it's pretty directional, I don't know, let's see, do I want to go this way or up and down? I think I'm going to go up and down with it. I like that. Maybe we'll turn it a couple times. So, get your gilding polish out, prime your sponge, and then do some random dots. Yeah, oh, that's fun. All right, so then on this side, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna move this up a little bit. Prime my sponge, wipe off the excess. Okay. That looks good. I'm gonna do a little bit more just right here, just so like when I'm layering my flowers and my gems and things on here, it gives me a nice background. Perfect. Set the template aside, and since I've got my mats and everything covered up, I'm actually gonna go ahead and do the white paint. I'm gonna dip it in and wipe some excess off. That looks pretty good. Now remember, if you're doing this somewhere, you should have a splatter shield up, and then go ahead and fling some of that white paint right over top of where you did your chocolate bronze. I'm going to slide this down just a little bit and hopefully not get it on any of my other paint. There we go. Oh, you can see I kind of did that. So careful with that sliding. I probably would have been better off just cutting it. Perfect. All right, let's pull this paper up gently. And we're going to set that aside to dry, and then we'll start our leftover layout. Okay, we're gonna pull over our leftover layout. We're gonna do a little bit here and there. So let's start by covering it up. Okay, that looks great. Then we can go ahead and get our template back out. Load up your sponge. Nice. Do a little bit right here. Oops, that one moved, so we'll see what we get. Yeah, no big deal. It's very forgiving. All right, white paint. I'll get a little bit more on that side. Perfect. Okay, that's it for our backgrounds. We're gonna let this dry, and while it's drying, we're gonna work on our flowers. Ladies, we're gonna continue with October by making our flowers while we're letting that paint dry. So go ahead and get out at least one of each one. And we gotta have the chalk out, Q-tips, cotton balls, pop dots, our Zig Writer, yellow stickles, and our acrylic paint with a toothpick, okay? So let's get those supplies together and then we can start making the flowers. These ones, I'm gonna start with the white one here, which is kind of like a pussy willow. So let's take this off and we'll get that one started. All right, this one, let's open up our Zig Writer, thin end, fat end. And with the thin end, we're gonna draw, oops, I think I've got it backwards actually, sorry. Nope, that is the right way. We're gonna draw a loop around each one of the little petals. And then we're gonna take our fat end and we're gonna darken that stem up and come up on the petal like a V shape. Okay, that looks good. Then we're gonna go back with our small dotting. Just random. It looks like, you know, each time I was doing them slightly different. So heavy on one side, not on the other. And then we're gonna go back with our big side, add some of the big dots. Okay, perfect. Let's go ahead and set that one aside and grab our flower. So here are the flower pieces that we're going to need. There's 3 of them. And some of the flowers are going to be just these 2 pieces together, just like that. And some of the flowers are going to be with all 3 pieces. So more of a layer like this. So I've got one that started here just so you kind of see, and I'll do a small one and like this. Oh wait, I've got actually both just so we can really see what we're talking about. So like that. Some of them will just be the 2 pieces, some will be the 3 petals. So let's go ahead and start with our mauve one. I always like to get a clean sheet. Let's see. And we're gonna start drawing our individual petals all the way down the flower. Okay, and then a few lines coming in from the top. And then a whole bunch coming from the bottom. Now these, you won't see any of this part, so more right along in between those slices is where we need them. Once you've done that, add your dotting. Large dots. And then I went heavy up through the middle of these. All right, that looks pretty good. So since we're not going to see much of this, we really only have to draw on the top of the petals because we're not going to see anything else. So that's all we're going to do. Take our pen, and we're just going to draw individual petals. And then a few lines coming down. And no dotting on this one. But we are going to use our pop dots. I'm gonna cut them, some of them a little bit thinner, because I want to glue this flat to the purple. So I'm gonna put my adhesive right there. And then I'm gonna put pop dots. Oh, that one actually doesn't look small enough. So I'm gonna cut it again in between the top petals here. Oops. Okay, that looks good. Take that extra side off. And these line up perfectly, so make sure you're lining it up, smooshing it down, and then leaving the pop dots. So some flowers are going to stay just like that. Others are going to have this third layer right here. So with the third layer, again, a lot of it you're not going to see. So let's take our thin end and just draw the individual petals. And then on this one, a few lines coming in, and then our dotting. Perfect. And then we're going to take this, put adhesive on it, and that's how those guys get put together, just like that. Okay, so let's set that aside. We're going to do we're going to do the last part of the flower, which is the green that holds it all together. So let's draw on this one. We're just tracing those individual little spiky petals. And then we're going to come up from the middle, and we're going to use our black marker to darken that bottom side a little bit, the thick side. And then we can do the individual dotting. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and glue it on. And then we've got one of the large flowers actually finished. Perfect. So we can set that aside. We're going to grab our 2 leaves. So with the leaves, we're going to start with the thin end, and we're going to go all the way around and just make these kind of V's with the jagged edge leaf. And then we're going to take and draw one nice line going through it and then coming out from each one of these big parts. All right, that looks good. I've got some little bit of veining that I did. So some small lines close together. And then we're going to go do our dotting and dashing. I blackened the stem on this. Okay, there's one big leaf, and let's go ahead and do the small one. And put the veins in there first or last, doesn't matter. Do that nice jagged line. Dotting. Perfect, set that aside. So then the last 2 pieces that we have are actually these little stems. I didn't do anything to them. We're not gonna do anything to them. We're just gonna leave them alone because they're dark and they're gray. And much, a lot of stuff won't show up on it. So let's grab all of our pieces and put one together with chalk. So I've got all of our parts and pieces right here. I'm not gonna mess with these. I'm gonna add some green. So I can definitely start with that. I'm going to take one of the darker greens and I'm just going to brush it right on those lines and a little bit on the tips. Let's do that with both of these. And then also on the bottom that holds the flower together. I'm going to grab a little bit of black. I'm going to do it around the edges because we're making these kind of dark and spooky for Halloween. And we can go ahead and brush that up. Clean it off. blend those colors in. That's good, I like that. All right, so with this right here, the little pussy willow is what it reminds me of. I'm gonna use just some black. And just kind of put it close to the edge. So they look shaded, and that looks great. Give it a good clean brush off. Then we're gonna come back with the flower. And I'm gonna grab red, and I'm gonna put it on the tips of this one, just where that mauve-y color is. And I'm gonna take a little bit of black, go in between. Let's brush that off. Reds, it just brightens them up a little bit. I like that look. Let's get that off there. That's pretty. And maybe a little bit of purple on these guys just to darken the edges and make them brighter. I love that. Once you have this, let's put it together and we will do, our glitter glue. So let's go ahead and put that flower down. We're gonna add these great twigs coming out. I like that. Got our 2 green leaves. I'm gonna poke one. Oh, on these leaves, I blackened the ends of it. I did it on the big one. I just didn't do it on the small one because they're actually like kind of coming out of these little twigs. There we go. From there, let's add our white paint. Let me grab my toothpick. I seem to have lost it in this mess. Like seriously, I did. Okay. Well, I've got one of my little dowels here that one of my friends made for me, so I'll just quickly grab that. And I'll use it instead of the toothpick. So dip your toothpick in to your white paint. And I'm going to highlight some of the leaf. I'm going to do the same thing to the flower. I love when I get those little perfect circles. Okay, that looks good for the white paint. Not going to do too much more. And then for the yellow glitter glue, we're going to go back in real heavy. On the ends. I would definitely let your white paint dry. You know, I don't have time for that. And then just a little bit wherever you put the black on this. And that is going to be it for this flower. Let that dry, let it get all flat, and it look beautiful.